We were on the menu of things that flew, crawled, stalked, and swam. Not occasionally, routinely. The fossil record doesn't just suggest it, it proves it in the specific geometry of wounds on bone. And then, in a window of time so brief that geologists struggle to measure it, we stopped being prey entirely. Something snapped. The question isn't what we became. The question is what it cost us to get there. Here's what the fossil record actually shows, and it is not what you were taught. For most of the 20th century, the dominant narrative of human prehistory was a straight line. We descended from the trees. We picked up tools. We became hunters. We conquered the world. Each step inevitable. Each step pointing forward. That narrative is wrong. The bone evidence from early Homo fossil sites, confirmed across 3 separate studies between 2006 and 2019, shows that for the first 2 million years of our existence, our ancestors ate like jackals. Opportunistic scavengers, mid-tier, taking what larger predators left behind, running from everything that ran toward them. We weren't the hunters, we were the hunted. Now, 2 questions. Hold both. First, we have fossil evidence of predator species that regularly targeted early Homo across 2 million years. One of them left a mark so specific, it changed how we understand our own evolution. That mark is what we're building toward. Second, and this is the question nobody asks, when we stopped being prey, what did we lose? What filled the hole that 2 million years of predator pressure had carved into us? That second answer is the one that will stay with you. Stop. I need you to understand how we know this. When you eat, the chemical signature of your diet is recorded permanently in your bones. The ratio of carbon isotopes tells researchers whether an animal ate mostly plants, mostly meat, or mostly what was left after something else had already fed. It tells them where in the food chain that animal sat. Early bone analysis suggested our ancestors occupied the scavenger tier. But that's not the most disturbing evidence. The most disturbing evidence is on the bones themselves. At sites across East Africa, early Homo fossils show cut marks, marks from stone tools, overlaid on top of carnivore tooth marks, on top of, meaning the carnivore got there first. Our ancestors waited for the lion to finish, then moved in when it left. For 2 million years, we ate second. We flinched first. We ran when the real predators arrived. And that is not the story we tell about ourselves, but it's the story the bones tell. Let me give you the complete picture because it's worse than a single eagle. The crowned eagle, Stephanoaetus coronatus, targeted children and juveniles specifically. Its modern descendants still do. The talon geometry matches wounds found on Australopithecus africanus skulls at Taung, South Africa, confirmed by forensic ornithologist Ron Clark in 2006. Dinophilus, the false saber-tooth, showed a dietary preference for primates in its isotopic signature. Not ungulates, not megaherbivores. Primates. Specifically, us. Leopards cached our ancestors in trees, the same way they cache impala today. We know this because the same distinctive tooth geometry that appears on impala bones in modern kill sites appears on Homo erectus bones at Swartkrans, South Africa. And Pachycrocuta brevirostris, the giant hyena, twice the size of any living species, left its marks on early Homo bones at sites across Africa and Eurasia. 4 species, 2 million years, every one of them treating us as available food. And here is the detail that stops researchers. Across all of that time, across all of those sites, there is almost no evidence of our ancestors fighting back. No predator bones with hominin tool marks. No evidence of coordinated retaliation. No evidence we were anything other than prey that occasionally escaped. We ran, we hid, we lost members, and we kept living anyway. The question is, why did that suddenly stop? Around 800,000 years ago, something begins to shift in the archaeological record. It's subtle, easy to miss if you're not looking for it. Fire sites begin appearing with regularity at hominin camps. Not occasional or accidental, but structured hearths. The same location, used repeatedly, maintained deliberately. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, researchers found evidence of controlled fire use dating to 1 million years ago. Burnt bone fragments and plant ash consistent with a maintained hearth, not a lightning strike. At Gesher Beno Yaakov in Israel, dated to 790,000 years ago, evidence of deliberate fire use appears alongside a dramatic increase in the diversity of prey species at the site. Before that threshold, our ancestors ate what was left, scavengers' portions. After it, they were eating mammoth, horse, deer, animals you don't scavenge, animals you hunt. Something changed at the fire, not the fire itself. The fire was the symptom. What changed was something the fire made possible, something that no predator on Earth had ever developed. And that's what I've been holding back since the start of this video. What snapped wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a body. It wasn't even a brain, exactly. It was something that happened between brains. But first, I promised you that eagle mark and what it actually means. Here's what the eagle talon marks actually tell us. The wounds cluster overwhelmingly on children and juveniles, almost never on healthy adults. That means adults survived. Adults saw it happen. Adults were present at the moment the child was taken. And if adults survived long enough to reproduce, and they did repeatedly across hundreds of thousands of years, then at some point, some of those adults developed a response. Not a weapon, not a physical defense, a warning. Primatologist Klaus Zuberbuehler has spent 30 years studying alarm calls in modern primates in the Thai forest, Ivory Coast. He found that vervet monkeys have distinct alarm calls for different predator types. A specific call for eagles that sends the group running for cover. A different call for leopards that sends them up into trees. A different call for snakes. The calls are learned, not instinctive. Young vervets get them wrong. Adults correct them. The knowledge is transmitted. What Zuberbuehler argues, and what a growing body of paleoanthropologists now accept, is that predator pressure of exactly the kind documented in the early Homo fossil record is the most likely driver of the cognitive architecture that eventually became language. The eagle didn't just kill our children. It taught us to talk, not to each other about abstract things, to each other about the specific shape of the threat in the sky above us. Language didn't begin as poetry. It began as a warning, and that warning, transmitted, refined, passed from adult to child across 10,000 generations, was the first link in a chain that ended the subordinate period entirely. Now, what snapped? Around 400,000 years ago, the archaeological record shows a convergence, the accumulated weight of capabilities that had been building for over 1 million years, crossing a threshold all at once. Controlled fire, consistently, everywhere. Coordinated hunting, not scavenging, not opportunistic, deliberate, multi-individual, planned pursuit of large prey. And wooden spears, 8 of them, found at Schöningen, Germany in 1995. Dated to 400,000 years ago. Aerodynamically engineered, the balance point of each spear sits in the front third of the shaft, identical to modern athletic javelins. Not clubs, not pointed sticks, engineered projectiles, designed by someone who understood physics well enough to apply it. 400,000 years ago. This wasn't a sudden invention. It was a threshold, a point at which 2 million years of predator-driven language development, fire use, and social coordination crossed a line. And on the other side of that line, for the first time in the history of this planet, something looked at a creature larger and faster and stronger than itself, and hunted it instead of running. What followed was the fastest ecological transformation in the history of large mammals. Within 100,000 years of the Schöningen spears, the megafauna of Europe and Asia began their decline. Not from climate. The climate had cycled through similar cold periods multiple times before without driving these species to extinction. From us. A 2020 meta-analysis in the Proceedings of the Royal Society examined 177 megafauna extinctions across 6 continents over the last 130,000 years. Even accounting for climate variables, the correlation between human arrival and extinction held at 96%. Not coincidence, arrival. The crowned eagle still exists. It still hunts primates in the forests of sub-Saharan Africa. Its tactics have not changed. The talon geometry that marked that child's skull 2.5 million years ago is identical to the marks it leaves today. But it no longer hunts us. Because within the ecological timescale, almost overnight, we became something it had no behavioral response for. Not a larger predator, not a faster one. Something with no category in 60 million years of evolutionary memory. A predator that could plan 3 seasons ahead, that could coordinate across groups it had never met, that could pass hunting strategies across generations without ever meeting the generation it was teaching. The eagle adapted to everything evolution had thrown at it for 60 million years. It had no adaptation for us. None of them did. And here is what we lost when we became that. Remember the child. Taung, South Africa, 2.5 million years ago. No warning system, no fire, no language precise enough to describe the shape of the threat before it arrived. That child's death, and the deaths of thousands like it, built every one of those things. In a very real sense, the predator made us. Here's what the research suggests we lost when it was gone. We didn't lose fear. Fear remained, and remains. The hypervigilance that kept our ancestors alive is still running in your nervous system. The startle response, the threat detection bias, the tendency to see faces and predators in ambiguous shapes. These are not malfunctions. They are the software written by 2 million years of being hunted. What we lost was the pressure that had been holding us together. Predator threat is one of the primary drivers of social cohesion in primate groups. Groups that stayed together survived. Groups that fragmented got picked off. For 2 million years, the thing keeping human groups bound to each other wasn't culture or loyalty or shared belief. It was the thing in the dark. When we became the apex predator, when the external force binding us together was gone, something had to replace it. What replaced it? The hierarchies, the rituals, the belief systems, the stories we told about invisible forces that punished defection from the group. Those replacements are the foundations of every human civilization that followed. We didn't build civilization despite being prey. We built it because of it. The predator didn't just make us social. It made us need to stay social even after it was gone. You are not broken. You are extraordinarily well calibrated for a world that no longer exists. The anxiety you feel in crowds, in dark spaces, in rooms where you can't see the exits, that's the ghost of the thing that built you, still running, 2 million years later. Thanks for watching. Next video is up on the line.